Hello, welcome to the video lecture series presented by St. Andrews Institute of Technology and Management. In this video lecture series, we are discussing the subject programming for problem solving. And today we are going to start a new topic called strings. Now we have left this topic intentionally because though it has been a widely used topic, but still it is not interconnected with all the topics that we have discussed in the last few lectures. And we are going to start and end this particular topic in this particular lecture. And in the next lecture, I'm going to start with the file handling and try to conclude this unit in next lecture. Okay. So let's start with the notes that have been already provided to you. Now strings, as you people are, I think, familiar by now what the strings are. Strings are basically a character array. That is a collection of characters which tells you a meaningful, which defines a meaningful, let's say, a language phrase. Sometimes strings may or may not define a meaningful phrase in the language, but still a group of characters are called as strings, can be termed as strings. Now, strings are represented by array of characters. The end of the string is marked with a special character, the null character, which is simply the character with value 0. The null or the string terminated character is represented by another character escape sequence, that is \0. Now, you must have been using the strings for a long time now because we have done so much of coding until now in this particular let's say subject, and we have used strings by intentionally or not intentionally, and or you can say we have used strings without knowing the actual details of the string until now. The line that has been written here, that every string must be terminated with a null character called 0, or which has been identified with a special \, character dot, that is the \0. This particular null character and the escape sequence is inserted by the compiler itself. You don't have to do this on yourself. Okay, so every time you will type out a string in your console and try to save it in a particular character array, the last element will be added, that is the null element will be added by the compiler itself. You don't have to worry about that. Okay, so let's move on. The strings are used to manipulate text such as words and sentences. I think you people are more than familiar what the strings means until now, right now. So let's move ahead to the different delicacies of the string constants. Now, string constant is a sequence of characters enclosed by double quotes. We have already, I have already told you that string can be termed as a character array, and to input a particular string through your keyboard, you have to mark that particular string in the double quotes, or as we have represented the characters inside the C language. You can see that every time we try to initialize value of a character array, we'll have to put that value inside the double quotes, and same is rule will be applied to the string constants, string variables also. If you were try to initialize a string variable, then you have to keep in mind that the value that you are going to initialize the string variable must be inside the double quotes only. Okay. Now, how to initialize them? I think in the last few lectures we have already seen how to initialize a string variable. That is, it is basically same as initializing a character array. So all you have to do is you have to first signify the type of data you are going to use. Obviously, if we are going to input a string, we have to use the character array because there is no notion of string inside the C's. Some higher other languages, or almost all the other languages, have the notion of string as a separate data type. Although those data types are somewhat advanced data types, but still there's a notion of string data types in other languages like Java, for example, as I think you people are more than familiar with. But in the C, you still have to rely on the character variables for dealing with the strings. So what I have to do is for initializing a string, for declaration of a string variable, you have to first put out the type of data, that is character, and then the name of the string. So whatever be the name of the string you want, and after that As we have already seen how to initialize an array, you have to start with the square brackets, and inside that particular square bracket you have to input the size. Okay, you have to input the total size of the string. Let me again remind you that a single character resides inside a single byte of memory. So if you have a string which actually includes around 6 to 10, or let's say 10 characters, then you must at least allocate a size of 10 for the character array in which you want to input that, or you want to store that particular string. And mind you also that if the string is divided in parts, like in our language we have words, and then we have a word and then a blank space and then some other word, so that we can easily visualize where the words, how the words are segregated. Like in this particular line we have a string word, then a blank space, then a constant that is also a word, then a blank space, then is also a word, and then all the words are differentiated, or being we can differentiate them on the basis of the blank white spaces in between them. So while while declaring the character array, you have to keep that thing in mind. If your string consists of white spaces, then you have to also count the white spaces, and the budget of your memory must include those white spaces also. So in a way, what I'm trying to say is, if you want to store like these two words like string constant, then you have to count this particular white space also to allocate for the allocation of memory for the character array. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then 7, and then 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So I have to allocate at least 15 memory spaces, 15 bytes for the character array to store this word, sorry, this string. That is string, then a white space and constant. Okay. So white spaces must be counted as memory location, because they are part and parcel of your string. Without white spaces, you won't be able to, let's say, chalk out something meaningful out of the string. As you can see, if I remove this white space, then string and constant will be one single word, and it is possible that it may not be as meaningful as you can see it right now. So next, as we have already seen that the compiler automatically supplies a null character at the end of the string, so you don't have to worry about that. But I think you must know that every string ends with a \0 null character. Okay, so the size should be equal to the maximum number of character in string plus one. Okay, and plus the included white spaces. Okay, so here we have, I have provided you with the two examples how to initialize a string. So I want to initialize a string called name. Its data type must be of character, and I have assigned a maximum length of 25. So my name string called name must not be of length greater than 25. And mind you, inside that 25 we have also allocated, or compiler have also allocated the one last space for null character. So it must not be greater than 24 in actuality. Now there is one way to initialize a string. All you have to do is you have to define the signature of the string, and then inside the double quotes you can provide the string itself. Okay, or you can define them, or you can initialize them like single elements like this, but they will again result in almost same thing. You don't have to do so much of work. You can just provide a string as a natural English line, or whatever be the language you are using, if your compiler is compatible. Okay, you don't have to extra burden yourself. Now let's move ahead. Now how can we ask for a string from the user and try to save it, or try to store that particular string inside a character array? One way is to use the scanf. You can use the %s string, that is the format specifier for the string, like %d for integer, %f for float, %u for unsigned. We have a format specifier for string called %s, and then the name, that is the character array whose in which you want to store your string. Let me again remind you that I haven't put here an ampersand sign because this particular name signifies the initial location of the character array. That is the first memory location that has been assigned for the character array, and after that the subsequent locations will be added for the string to store the individual characters of the string. Okay, so now we have a problem with this because the white spaces, as soon as you provide a white space in your string, the scanf will be hesitant to comply with the rule of providing the white spaces. Okay, the major problem with scanf is that it terminates its input on the first white space it finds. So if we supply input Amit Kumar, then only Amit will be read into the array name, because as soon as it will see a white space, it's going to terminate its function of getting the input or reading the input from the console. So that is the problem with this. The remedy of this particular problem is using the gets function. We have already seen the gets function in the class. I will also uh, display here how to use a get function. Gets function is a quite easy function. All you have to do is write the input of we'll see that all you have to do is write the keyword gets, and inside the bracket you have to display or write the name of the variable, character array variable in which you want to store the input string. That is it. So let's move ahead. Now we have several of the string function, inbuilt string functions with us. We can use those string functions to our suitability. All those string functions are defined and stored as a library called string.h. And as you are familiar until now how to call an external library for our use, all we have to do is to use an assembler user directives called #include, and inside these pointer brackets all you have to do is provide the name of the directory. Okay. Now first is strlen function, that is string length function. str, let me again remind you that to use this strlen function, first you have to include the string.h library into your code. If you don't do that, you won't be able to use that particular function, because then compiler won't be able to find the definition of strlen it is looking for, and if it doesn't find the definition of this particular function, it won't be able to compile it. Like if you don't include the stdio.standard_input library into your code, you won't be able to use the scanf and printf functions. So that is one and the same thing here. If you don't include this particular library into your function, your code, then you won't be able to use any of the function I'm going to explain to you. So the first function is strlen function. This, as the name suggests, it provides you with the length of the string, which you want to find out the length of. So this function counts and returns the number of characters in the string. The null character is not counted, so that's a plus point. As you know that the null character is automatically added by the compiler at the end of the string. So it might be possible that any other function that you have written by yourself for finding out the number of characters in a particular string, it might count the length of the string +1, because it will also count the final null character. But as the functions inside the string.h libraries are already optimized, so this particular function strlen will provide you the actual length of the string, and it will not add a +1 for the null character at the end of the length. Okay, so let's see this in action. There's nothing more to tell you about this, so we can directly see the action. So let's start. First we'll call the standard input-output library. Next I will call the string library. That is it. It's quite simple. And then the main function. Let's try to figure out the body. Let's initialize an array of type char, and let's name it as name, and let me assign 20 memory locations, 20 bytes of memory for this particular array. And instead of using, let me ask user for what is the name, what do you want to store inside the name. So all I have to do is call the gets function. It's also defined inside the standard input output library dot, that is stdio.h. So inside the gets, all you have to do is to provide the name of the array that you want, inside which your string will store. So instead of name, let me say it as my name. I think that would be more confusing. And that is it. Now this particular function called gets accepts an argument, the actual argument, as the character array in which you want to store the string which is going to be inputted by the user through the keyboard. Okay, and next we'll try to print that. So the standard printf function. So for string, as you know, we'll use %s, and I just have to provide the name of the array. Okay, so let's try to run this if we will be successful to do that. And I will, let's say, put my, let's say India, and space, and let's say gate. Okay, so India gate is the string that I have provided. India gate is the string that I have provided. Okay, so align them with the lines. So when the compiler compiles this particular code, it will first call, it will encounter a line where the gets function will be called. That gets function will allow the user to input a string. I have inputted the string called India white space gate. Now this particular string now will be stored inside the character array called my name, and when I try to print that particular character array, which has been known to us by the name of my name, it will print the same string. Okay, now one thing we haven't done is we haven't seen the use of function strlen. Now I want to find out what is the length of the string the user is going to input through the keyboard. So printf, and I'm going to use that function directly in the printf. There is no use. Let me print that in a new line, and let me remind you that strlen function will return you an integer value, not a string, because it is going to calculate the length of the string. So you must use %d as the format specifier. And now strlen, and inside the argument bracket you are going to pass the name of the string variable whose length you want to find out. So my name, that is it. You can also store the length of the integer, the string my name into a integer variable called axb, and then you can print that. That is also viable, but why to waste per memory location, why to waste our memory when we can do this particular operation like this only. Okay. So I'll again run this, and again I will import India gate. Okay, so it is printed out. First it has asked me to input a string. I have inputted a string called India white space gate, and it gets stored into the character array called my name. Then I try to print the my name character array. I got the same value, I got the same string. Then I use the function called strlen, that is, which returns the length of the string, and inside that particular what can I say, inside that particular function I have passed on as argument the name of the string of which I want to find out the length of. So I've passed on my name and I've got 10 as the length of the string. Let's try to count it out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So yes, it has also counted out the white space in it. So keep that thing in mind. If you have white spaces inside your strings, then those white spaces will also be counted out as the counted out inside the total length of your string. Okay, so I think that is enough for str length. Let's move ahead. Next function. Next function is string copy. If you want to copy the string from one variable to another variable, then you don't have to go for a for loop. You have to apply a for loop. All you have to do is just call the function called str copy, and inside that function you have to provide two arguments called the string1 and string2. And when you call this particular function, the string inside this particular variable, that is string2, will be copied inside the first argument, that is string1. So contents of the string2 will be copied to string1. Okay, let's try to do this. First, I have to initialize one more string character array in which I am going to copy the contents of my name character array. So not my name, let's say your name, and I will also assign it with the same length. That is obvious because if the length of the second character array is less than the first, and if you try to store some contents of the larger array into smaller array, then some of your data will be lost. That is bound to be lost. So first I will call the function str copy cpy, and I want to copy the content of my name into your name. First I have to provide the string name in which I want to copy the content. So your name, comma, and second I have to provide the name of the character array from which I want to copy. So my name. And then I will use a printf, and again a new line, and then percentage is for the string and your name. So we'll see if your name contains the same string as my name. We have already called the function str copy. It's going to copy the contents of my name into your name. So second argument's contents will be copied to first argument's called. Okay, let's try to run it. So again the same India gate, and yeah, so as you can see here, first I have provided with the string India gate, it gets stored into my name, then I try to print it out, yes, to make sure that my name still contains the string that I have provided, yes, it still contains the India gate, the length of the string is 10, and now when I try to print the content of your name character array, it also gets the same content as my name array. So we have successfully copied the contents of my name into your name. So I think that made pretty clear. Let's move ahead to the next function. Now next function is string comparison. Now if you want to compare the two strings for its length, then this function is going to be quite useful. So the basic rule is this function compares two strings and returns 0 if they are equal. So if the length of two strings are equal, then a 0 will be returned. It returns a negative number if first string is alphabetically less than second string, or a positive number if first string is greater than second string. Okay, I have to change one thing here now. It is not going to compare the length only, it is also going to compare the content of the string also. So by content I mean the string must contain same pattern of characters as the first one. So first and second strings, if they both have same length and same pattern of characters in the same order, then it's going to return 0. Otherwise it's not going to return 0. It's either going to return a negative number or going to return a positive number. It's going to return a negative number if the first string is alphabetically less than, and by alphabetically I means if the second string starts with A and first string starts with let's say Z, so then you can see that first string is alphabetically less than the second, and this particular function strcmp is going to return a positive number if first string is greater than second number in terms of alphabetically, obviously. So if first string starts with A and second string starts with Z, then you can easily conclude that the first string is alphabetically greater than the first. Okay, so let's try to see what's going to happen. Okay, let me remove this function for now, and let me assign something here directly, so I don't have to ask India gate, and now I'm going to assign to it, let's say, gateway of India, gateway of India. Okay, now let's call the function comparison function. So let me tell you how to use it. You can print something by using the return value of the string comparison function. Let me again remind you that string comparison function is going to return you an integer value that is either equal to 0 or a negative value or positive value. So you can use that. So I'm going to put it inside a if condition. So if one more bracket, if strcmp function, let me compare the both of the strings. Let's say my name and your name. If they are equal, that means if they both of them are equal, then this particular function is going to return me a 0 value. So then if it is equal to 0, in that case, inside this, and I will print out a message simply strings are equal, and else if that is not, then printf strings are not equal. Okay, let's try to do this, and I'm going to provide India gate. Strings are not equal. Oh, I forgot to print that in a new line. Let's do that again for both of them. Save it and run it again. And India gate. So strings are not equal. Let's try to do this again. This time I'm going to input the same string. So gateway of India, strings are equal. So when I provided the gateway of India, then both of those characters contain the same string. So the if condition here, actually materializes equal to true, because this particular function at this point of time returned a 0 value, and 0 is equal to 0. The condition statement is true. We are inside the if block, and there is only one statement inside this output function, which is going to print the value strings are not equal to your console. And if the contents of these two are not same, then we will be inside the else block, and that is it. Let's move ahead. Okay, start cut I'm going to skip, and this is important. These two are important. Next is string reverse function. Now this particular string will reverse the string. That is, if you have written the INDIA, you're going to have the value that is AI, and whatever be the reverse of the India character, India string. All you have to do is just call the function STR Rev, and inside the argument brackets you are going to provide the name of the string of which you want the reverse of. So let's also try to implement that. Okay, now For the time being, let's remove this. It's not populated. Also, let's remove this. We have already seen that. And okay, so I am just going to str rev function. Let's try to print it directly. Printf, and let's say on a new line %s, because I'm going to print a string here, and str rev, and I want my name to be reversed. Whatever be inside the my name, I want it to be in the reverse direction. So I will save this, and let's say India. Let's say, what should I get of India? Okay, I've got the reverse. As you can see here, I've got the reverse. Okay, that is the use of the reverse function. You can use that in implementing the palindrome. I think we have already done the palindrome in the class, so you can use that particular function for implementing the string palindrome. We have implemented the integer palindrome there, and you can use this particular function to figure out if a particular string is palindrome or not. Okay, let's move ahead. I think the video is getting too long. Yeah, so one last function, just one last function, we are done with strings. So this is strupr, that is string upper. All it is going to do that, if you have provided a particular string that is of lowercase, it's going to convert that particular string into uppercase. Okay, it's like pressing the caps lock on your keyboard. So let's use this. strupr, and I want the uppercase version of what is inside the my name character array. So let's save this and run this, and let's say India, and that is it. Now India I have provided in the smaller case letters, and the function strupr has changed it to the uppercase version. Okay, so that is it with the string. Thank you.